Welcome back to the channel, guys. In today's video, we're going to be talking about tactics and how to get your tactic up and running as fast as possible to make the season as best as it can be. Let's do it. I've just started a save with Deportivo La Coruña. Wanted to try a few things in this save, a few different signings, a few different tricks, a few different scouting methods, but I thought I wanted to do a video around tactics and how to get your tactics up and running and how to increase the tactical familiarity as quickly as possible to get those results. So, a lot of people, first of all, I'm going to say a lot of people, they'll swap and change their tactics over and over and over, and they won't even realise that they're harming their team. They think the tactic's better. The players don't know the tactic, the new one, and then the next new one, and then the third one that they've made this season. They don't give their players time to learn the tactic, and then they wonder why it's not working, and then they just think, oh, it's crap. So, like I mentioned before, if you make a tactic and it's quite coherent in terms of your roles fit quite well, if you don't know how to do that and you're not sure, I'm going to cover it slightly in here, but I do have a better series of videos, how to create your own tactics. They're above right now. I'm going to link them above. They're pretty cool in terms of how I made the tactic and brought it together and my thought process behind it and the style of play, etc. Now, I'm not really going to talk too much about that on this video. This video is more about how to get the tactic that you've decided to make online, sort of thing, on up to scratch, up to where you want it to be, so you guys can see the tactic working in all its glory type thing. So for right now, my tactic, for example, that I've made, I think it's going to be quite good. I'm not sure if it is just yet. I think it will be, because I'm quite experienced with making my own tactics now. But because the tactical familiarity levels here are so low, it's not going to play at its full potential and its maximum level. Now, if you do that mid-season and you change things around because it's not working, I'm not saying don't do that. Don't sit and struggle if you are struggling. Change things around. I'm not saying that. But like a full switch and a tactical familiarity hit like that is going to have a lot more negative impacts than positive impacts, right? So if you started the season and you went with a 4-2-3-1 attacking gegenpress formation and you're getting beat because now you're in the Premier League rather than the Championship, I'm not suggesting now go into a 5-4-1 defensive counter-attacking system, because your players won't understand why that's happened and they won't be able to play that because it's totally different. You'll have gone from high press to low block and holding your own position. Not saying do that, but if you are in a 4-2-3-1 attacking formation, maybe just rein a few things in. Maybe take your pressing down by 1 so it doesn't give you a massive hit on tactical familiarity. Maybe just move your mentality down by 1 to balanced, or to whatever you want, from attacking to positive. And it won't have a big of a hit and a big of an impact in the match engine, and it will solidify you a little bit. Maybe you've got wingers up here. Maybe bring them down to midfield left and midfield right. Just things like that can help and can go a long way, rather than changing it entirely in January and you're struggling and you're thinking, oh, I don't want to make tactics anymore, I'm just going to download one. I understand that thought process, but I'm just here to say, be a bit calmer about it. It doesn't have to be so extreme. You don't have to go from one end to the other. So, for this video, first of all, most of you will have this screen, right? Obviously, maybe not the backgrounds, maybe a different skin, whatever. You'll have this screen though, right? Now, I've said this plenty of times. I've said it on stream. I've said it in other videos. I don't see the point of this screen with this particular setup. So, I can see my roles and duties down here, right? So, advance forward, all them things. We can see it all down here. So, we don't need them here. I personally don't think we need them there. So, I like to click on this screen, right? Now, obviously, you've got this screen as well, which is extra player information, like the morale and their average rating. But again, you can see the morale here and you can see average rating here. So you don't need it. I like this screen because you can't get this information over here. Now, that's just me, personally. Now, I like to see which players know my tactic, right? So, for example, Barcia at centre-back here, he knows my tactic the most out of everyone, which is worrying because he doesn't know it that well. The only thing really he's really good at is his position, role and duty, because it's a centre-back and it's a centre-back defend, which is the most bog-standard role you mostly have at centre-back, and it's the most ones that most people use, right? So that's why he knows that, because it's very, very familiar to him. He also knows the tempo that we're playing at. We're going to play a slightly higher than normal tempo, but not too high that we're rushing the passing. It says slightly higher. But passing style, he's no idea what to do. We are on a slightly shorter passing because I do want us to play short. I want us to play out of defence like I've ticked, but I don't want us to play just short passes. I want us to go long if needed, right? I want us to go and penetrate. I don't want to have possession, pointless possession. I don't want that, right? I want possession with a plan. So, he also doesn't know about the width we're playing. He's marking, he's not sure on, but he is accomplished at playing at a positive mentality. So, if you look at a play like that, and then you look at a play like Davo up front, who has literally no idea. He's going to be running around, having no idea what's going on. Guys, what sort of passing style we're playing at? What sort of, am I supposed to press here? Am I supposed to not press here? And you will see that. And it says underneath in this little writing here, it says, Davo's lack of familiarity with our formation is impacting the squad's overall tactical cohesion and, where possible, he should be given more time in the team to get up to scratch. Davo is currently behind the overall team level of tactical familiarity. And that is an absolute understatement. He is massively not, he has no clue what we're doing, right? So, in the match engine, he is not going to be performing at anywhere near the levels that you guys will be able to see out of him. So, the same applies for if you're in January and you bring in a striker, right? You've been thinking all season, I can't wait to get to January. We're not scoring enough chances. I've got 60 million. I'm just going to splash it all on that guy that's going to get me into Europe or keep me out of relegation or title, whatever you're playing at. But you bring him in and you just literally on this screen here, right? And you just stick him up front, right? You just get him from the bench and you go bang. You go up front, right? In this case, for me, I'm going to say it's Davo, the £60 million striker, right? It's not, is it? He's guy on loan, whatever. But just for the purposes of an explanation here, let's say, for example, I spent 60 million on this guy, launched him in the first team like this, right? And then we played a game, we played 5 games, and he's not scoring, he's not playing well. I'm thinking I've wasted 60 million. I've absolutely wasted 60 million. But if you click this little button, you can see why you think you've wasted 60 million. You haven't. You're just waiting for him to get up to scratch, and so he knows the team, knows the teammates, knows everything like that. So the first layer of it is tactical familiarity, right? And he doesn't have a clue what we're doing right now, but he will at the start of the season. I'm going to show you guys at the start, and I'm going to show you guys at the end of pre-season, and we're going to get this up to the absolute maximum. There is a chance that because his tactical familiarity is so low right now that he won't be at maximum at the first game of the season, but it will be a damn sight better. It will probably be around 60-70% at the start of the season. The more games that you do play, the more friendlies that you play, the more the tactical familiarity improves, right? So the first thing that I do is organise friendlies. Now, a lot of people might just do what the friendlies say on the screen when they go in, right? They might just play the 5 friendlies that they get given or the 4 friendlies or whatever it is. And at the start of the season, their team are more than likely not going to be fully fit. The first 11 might, but let's say you get an injury a week before the season to a couple of players, and then you have to play 2 or 3 players that haven't got full match sharpness, and they're really, really poor in match sharpness, and you play the first game, you have 3 players that have bad performances, and you might lose or draw the first game. It just sets you off on the wrong foot, right? So let's get everything sorted early on in pre-season, so we're not having to worry and rush at the start of the season. What I do is I first go in and I cancel all the friendlies, right? Because I don't like where they're spaced out between each other. Usually there's like one that's like 7 days before the next one, and then there's like 3 days, and then there's a week, 10 days. I don't like it. So what I like to do is I like to do this, right? I like to organise 8 friendly matches. Now, a lot of people here will be thinking, 8 friendly matches, that's a lot. Now, it's more than normal, but what I like to do is I like to give I like to have 2 separate teams, and I like to give them all a game each. So in general, what they'll have is they'll have 4 full games each in pre-season. Now, you can decide to have 4 or 5 friendlies, and your first 11 players will have maximum sharpness. Or you can play a few more, 7 or 8 like I do, and you can decide to have all your squad sharp. So everyone's ready to hit the ground running when you start the season. So for me, I like to have 8. And I like to space it out like this. So I wait until I get my fixtures first, and I've obviously got the fixtures here. Now, the first game of the season is this team here, Sestao, right? I'm going to make sure you guys can see it above my camera just there. So Sestao is the first game of the season. Now, my first friendly will be a week before that. I don't like to have it 3 or 4 days because that's not enough time. Let's say we get a 3 or 4 day injury there. He's struggling for this game. So the last friendly will be 1 week before the first game of the season. Porto Nova there. That's what I've done just there. Ponte Nova, sorry. The next one will be there, which will be 4 days. And then another game there, Flavia, will be 3 days. Basically, I do it in a little pattern like that. So the last 4 will be there, let's take that one off, there, and there, right? So the 8 friendlies will be 4 there, 4 there. We have a bit of a rest there, not a rest, but a bit of an early training schedule where we're sort of learning different things that I'll come on to in a second. But I like to do easy fixtures, basically. I like to get us off on good morale. We're going to start off with good morale. And we can start off with probably less impact in the game, which is probably going to mean less injuries, less fatigue, because the players aren't going to have to break a sweat against half-a-star teams, right? Well, that's the 8 friendlies there. Obviously, if someone rejects it, then just go and put another one in there. But yeah, that's the 4 and the 4 right there. So we're going to have 8, no problem. The next screen you guys need to be looking at is this one here, right? So it probably just starts with a normal initial preseason schedule. But I like a heavy schedule if you've got an already settled tactic and you've got a long season ahead of you. So if you're like at the top of the Prem or top 4 of the Prem. It says here, during pre-season, a schedule that greatly increases fatigue will benefit the player's fitness, with them being able to stave off fatigue longer into the season itself and reduce the chances of becoming fatigued. During the season itself, the focus should be on other areas, as this will reduce the chances of players getting too tired. So, like I said, you want to go heavy there because it impacts the fatigue the most, right? They will get used to the fatigue and they'll be able to carry it further into the season. But for the purposes of this video, because we're talking about tactics, we're going to go tactical, right? Because that gives the increased team cohesion boost and the tactical familiarity boost, right? Everything else is tactical familiarity and team cohesion a lot lower, right? So we want to go tactical because it's focusing primarily on tactics. I think that makes sense, but it's just an extra thing you guys might want to do. And it also increases tactical things inside your training schedules. And I'm going to show you that in a second. Obviously, there are 8 different tactical familiarity levels. There's mentality, passing style, creative freedom, trigger press, marking, tempo, weight, and then they've got position, role, and duty all in one. If we go to our training and we go to general, you can see these 8 tactical familiarity levels are all inside these 4 different ones. So in attacking, tactical familiarity, this will help increase the creative freedom tactical familiarity. Possession will help with passing style and tempo. So if you change your passing style and tempo midway through the season and the tactical familiarity on those 2 bars that you've seen have taken a hit and they're down at 50-60%, put a lot of possession training inside your schedules because it will increase it a lot faster. Same with defending. Obviously, it does trigger press and marking if you've changed your style of press, if you've changed your defensive line or anything like that. Put a lot of defending inside your schedules. In tactical, there's mentality, width, and position, role, and duty. So within these 4, you have got all 8 covered, right? Obviously, attacking only has 1, which is creative freedom, but tactical has 3 in it, and then defending and possession have 2 each. The other thing I like to do, which I think improves the tactical familiarity, it always works for me, so I always do it, is giving players training in the positions that they're going to be playing in. So, for example, David Meller is one of my youngsters and he's highly rated. He's in real life as well. So I've got him in the first team. I'm going to try and make him a decent player on this save. He's playing this season as an inverted winger attack, right? Now, if I go into his development tab, you can also see individually their tactical familiarity in your different tactics that you've picked inside different roles and different duties inside this. So for example, if he's playing on the right wing or the right midfield as an inverted winger attack, I would make him train right midfield, inverted winger attack, right? Now, it will also help him inside the game because he will get better at these attributes that are in green because that's the ones that's targeting. So he'll also get better in terms of the role. He will suit the role more that he's playing in, but also he will improve his tactical and his position, role, and duty down here because it's really low. And I want him to know that in training, I want him to be training as an inverted winger on attack because that's where he's going to be playing, right? So the position, role, and duty with this will fly up, right? So that's something that I definitely want to do. There is no better accelerator for your tactical familiarity than football matches though. So the more friendlies, like I mentioned at the start, the better. The more minutes for your guys to get sharper and also get used to your tactics. If you're in the middle of the season, obviously it's a little bit more tricky because you don't get that pre-season. But if you can get a few friendlies in, a few gaps, maybe you can give those players that are lacking in familiarity, or maybe some new signings, some games, or you can even put them into the under-21s to gain tactical familiarity. If you sign 4 players in January and you throw them all in, you might get more disjointed in your performances and your tactics, and you might think your tactics stop working. It's not necessarily that your tactics stop working, it's that some of your players don't know the tactic, and that is a big problem. Obviously, the dynamic screen again, if you sign players, the team cohesion might go back into the red if it's only just over the green. So keep an eye out on this screen as well. Those two hand in hand, the familiarity and the cohesion, those two work together perfectly to get the best results that you can possibly get, and that way you will overachieve massively in Football Manager, because the AI struggle to squad build and struggle with tactics, and they also struggle with reacting to your tactics and the game inside it. So like I said, keep in mind the team cohesion and the familiarity, those two will be your best friend inside Football Manager. Also, make sure that you make use of match tactics and match practice, because those two are really important, if not the most important, in making sure your familiarity improves quick. So with match tactics, you can have 3 per week if you click on that, and if you go for another one, if you hover over it, it says 3 in brackets. Obviously, match practice is only 2. So make sure you get 3 of those and 2 of those in each week on the start of the pre-season. That is really important. The other one as well, which is massive, is the match review. Right, match review does team cohesion and tactical familiarity, but you can only do match review after the match, 1 day after the game. So there, you can do it, which I will be doing anyway, because I need the cohesion up. I'll show you in a second, but you can't have match review before the game. It has to be 1 day straight after the game. So make sure you get the match reviews in. Make sure you take an advantage out of every single training slot that you get, especially in pre-season, because that is the most important time of the season. So you guys hit the ground running and you get the best results. And also your tactic is actually showing up in matches as your tactic, rather than something that's half working, because half your players know it, half your players don't know it. You're sat there saying, oh, have I done this right, have I done this wrong? Get everyone up to scratch, get everyone up to fitness, the team cohesion into the green, and your tactic will probably surprise you and be better than what you think it is. We've made it to match day 1, and this is the situation. So we were struggling with tactical familiarity. After all the training sessions, after everything else that I've been doing, this is now the state of the tactical familiarity, and there it is. It's really good. I didn't think it was actually going to be this high at this stage, but it is. It's really high. If you look at the tactics, everything should play out perfectly fine. Now, I've got a couple of injuries with the pre-season situation. That's always going to happen. On to the team dynamics, the team cohesion has increased quite a lot. Now, I've not signed that many players because Depot's team is already quite good. I thought I'll not do that. We'll make most of our signings maybe in January or the end of this season, after I release some of the older guys and get some of the wage budget free. So there is going to be a slight issue team cohesion-wise when we start the season, but I should have got around that by the fact that all my players know exactly how my tactic or how I want it to play, right? Also, another thing with those 8 friendlies, most of the players on the bench, obviously Noriega down here, you guys can't see him, this guy down here, he got injured at the start of pre-season. I wanted to try and integrate him into the squad this year because he's got 4.5 star potential. But he got a 4 or 5 week injury, so he only played 2 games in pre-season, 2 matches. He scored a goal, which was nice, but he doesn't have much match sharpness. I'll just get rid of my camera box so you guys can see that. Every single person almost is really sharp. So if I get an injury to one of these guys, I've got a guy there ready, match fit, waiting to jump straight in. So that, for me, is how you should approach pre-season, or how I do. And if there's any tips in there that you can help you guys, take them away. Let me know in the comments. If any of that helped you guys out, leave a like on the video, leave a subscription on the channel. We've just hit 4,500. We're aiming for 5,000, so that could be really nice as well. And until next time, as always, I'll catch you then. Goodbye.